the American Shakespeare Center in 2012, and I, like Ethan, immediately recognized that theater in this room feels super different from theater in every other room I'd ever been in. And I became obsessed with figuring out why. I knew it had something to do with Shakespeare's staging conditions, specifically universal lighting, visible audience. And I wanted also desperately to prove Ralph's life work with science. So naturally, I wrote my first master's thesis on the neurological effects of direct mutually sustained eye contact. I have a degree in Shakespeare. I posited that theater feels different in our space because of the way our brains respond to social cues. And after reading hundreds of functional magnetic resonance imaging studies on the neurobiological effects of eye contact, I discovered I was right. Here's a quick 4-point summary of why, and forgive the brevity, I would love to go deeper, but it is literally brain science, and I don't have time to explain it further and also make my point about why it matters. So, let me send you my thesis, I would love to, I have brain scans, okay. But, for the neurotypical human, eye contact is one of, if not the most, universally salient social cues. It signals an overt and unmistakable intent to communicate. 2, our brains preferentially process social cues, which means we pay more attention to things we think involve us or may require our participation, which is why we remember such self-related events more vividly. 3, in addition to selectively engaging specific areas of the brain, sometimes collectively referred to as the social neural network, social cues, specifically eye contact, also marshal resources of the peripheral nervous system that speed up your heart rate, make your palms sweat, etc., in order to heighten your own cognitive awareness of your body in space. So where you could be a disembodied consciousness passively observing me give this paper, the moment I make eye contact with you, you become a person in this room right now, and you have a body, and that body has hands, and what are your hands doing? 4, an actor making direct, mutually sustained eye contact with an audience member transforms the observational theatrical performance into a participatory social interaction for both parties, a totally different neurobiological event. Or so my theory goes. I was only able to read analogous studies demonstrating this effect when researching my thesis and was never able to conduct my own to prove it because the only way I could do that would be to turn this playhouse into an fMRI machine. Ethan, I hope you will consider it. Regardless, the physical and cognitive effects of social cues, like eye contact, and the subsequent what are your hands doing effect, explains why theater in this room, where audience contact is the mainstay because you put the lights on and I can make eye contact with you, feels so different from theater everywhere else. At the neurobiological level, there's literally more electricity in the room. Case closed. Ralph's life work proved the science. But my eye contact discovery did not explain the various degrees of participation in response to the various levels of social cueing between actors and audience, I then began to notice in this room. Some more successful, effective, magical, or memorable than others. Without question, eye contact heightens audience contact. But audience contact, or direct address, breaking the fourth wall, whatever we want to call it, really requires only what ASC veteran actor Ben Kearns calls a do-to. The actor does something to the audience by looking and or speaking in our general or specific direction. The most moving and memorable moments, however, tend to also require what Kearns calls a get from. The actor requests and requires the active participation of the audience in response to their do-to. Quick disclaimer. When I say active participation, I am generally referring to the sort of non-verbal social cues neurotypical humans employ whenever they are in conversation with each other. Over the eyebrow, a small nod, and a smile. Not necessarily the shouted verbal responses you might encounter at an improv night or that screaming about the literature show. This is not that. While the latter is not off limits, I am generally encouraging a much subtler form of effect. An actor can easily facsimilate simple audience contact without actually even including another person. Ferris Bueller does all sorts of stuff to the camera, but obviously he cannot get anything from the audience on the other side of the lens, who may be miles away and decades removed. A successful but detached do-to, like Ferris Bueller's, may engage many of the same neurological areas as real-life, mutually sustained direct eye contact. But I theorize it does not activate those mechanisms robustly enough to fully tip Bueller's absent audience from observing to participating. for the very reason why our theater does. Ferris Bueller is not in the room with you. This is the thing that theater can do that film cannot. At that neurobiological level, film simply cannot provide an audience with what Ralph calls that thrill of acknowledgement. Ferris Bueller, Frank Underwood, Fleabag, they can do too all day, but they cannot and will not ever get from. And we all know it. In his paper yesterday, James Lolan pointed out the terrifying possibility of actually getting something from the audience in response to the most obvious and extreme of do-tos, asking the audience a question. Here I am saying, yeah, in our room, you will. Especially if you socially cue the audience, thereby activating them to provide that response, which is objectively terrifying. The audience is a terrible and terribly unreliable scene partner. So let's take an example of an actor activating, let's take a look at an example of an actor activating the audience and dealing with the consequences. I need to make my point, so I'm going to control the variables by not using this real audience or a real actor yet. Instead, let me play a video. Sure, that's how we use this. Let me play a video clip from Act 5 of the ASU's 2016 summer-fall production of King Lear, in which Edmund, played here by Patrick Earl, asked the audience some questions.
To both these sisters have I sworn my love. Each jealous of the other as the stone are of the other. Which of them shall I take? Both, one, or neither? We enjoy it both remain alive.
Edmund asks 4 questions. Which shall I have? Both, one, neither. Earl asks them quickly, allowing no room to get anything back between each one. But when he gets to the final one, he clearly invites a get from the audience by turning his head slightly and putting his finger to his ear, the widely recognized social cue that says, I'm listening. Not as robust a social cue as eye contact, but still, he paused for a reply. Social neural networks likely were engaging all over the playhouse as soon as Earl started asking, and even more robustly once I started swiveling towards the audience member who felt activated enough to answer. But I would wager, and again, Ethan, fMRI machine, please, that the critical activation took place for everyone in the audience in the moment after the laughter died down. Earl smiled and then responded directly to what he got. If he hadn't, I believe the audience would have lost its faith in the unique social contract of this room. A denied get from belies all the do-tos that came before it as false facsimiles of the thing itself, making Earl no more active than Ferris Bueller talking to the camera, immune to the audience's humor. So here is my mandate to actors who want to use this tool. When you ask, you will receive. And when you receive, you have to take what you get. You do not, however, have to add text extempore, nor should you. The most common audience response in our playhouse is, that is absolutely a response. And while Earl may have prepared for that shocked silence, or shouts of neither, or perhaps the occasional bummer roll, he did not prepare for kill them both and take their money. Because nobody prepares for kill them both and take their money. He didn't prepare for everything. Instead, he simply confirmed the social contract of this room by shifting his phrasing to turn his next scripted line into a living response to what he got from the audience, and to get the play back on track. The audience did not take over, but they did wake up. Because in that moment, everybody in the room, including yours truly, was suddenly there, here, together. All of us, and especially the audience member who answered, will remember that moment forever. Yesterday, James Lolan asked why questions, rhetorical or otherwise, have the potential to be so engaging. And this morning, Ethan McSweeney asked us to think about why theater in this room feels so special. I am here to give you the neurobiological answer, which just so happens to confirm Ethan's supposition that the human element is the most important one. because of the social neural network. And it came from the text. For the alert actor, Shakespeare's text somehow keeps a firm hand on the reins of audience activation, because if kill them both and take their money can work as an answer to this supposedly multiple choice question without starting to play off the rails, anything can. After all, neither can be enjoyed in real life. I am not saying you have to do this. This activation magic can be strong and distracting and should be used sparingly. You get maybe one of these moments per play if that works example. And even though it's asking for trouble to try a live experiment of audience activation after priming an audience to be so robustly activated, I'm going to try it here anyway. I'm going to use the most extreme example I could think of, Shylock's Act 3, Scene 1 speech from the Merchant of Venice, both because I want to demonstrate just how far one could push this audience activation effect using the unique tools in this room, a visible audience, an alert actor, and a whole bunch of Shakespeare's most difficult questions. And because we're doing Merchant next summer, so now is the time to find out what might happen if you use them. Shylock is not alone on stage, and he could absolutely be asking any or all of the 10 questions as a conservative down in this passage to his scene partners rather than the audience. But as James pointed out yesterday, the latter is always an option, so let's give it a try. Besides, this speech is so famous now that it's commonly delivered to the audience anyway, but as a rhetorical set piece that Shylock has been rehearsing in his bathroom mirror for the last 6 weeks, and not as like a genuine series of questions that he actually wants to ask and have answered in the moment. And I kind of just want to see that. So whether it wants to be answered by the people on stage who do not have lines and will not answer, or us in the audience who could very well kill them both and take their money, who knows? I want to see what happens. A reminder that you in the audience do not have scripts. You are not expected to give a certain answer or to give a verbal answer to any of the questions that Shylock asks you, but you will give answers. They will be written on your faces, and my actor will see them, and she will use them. Here's my mandate to Miriam, my actor. Start by asking one person. When you ask everyone, you activate no one. But when you ask one person, you activate everyone. It's a brain thing. I'll tell you more later. Look that person in the eye. Pause for a reply. Take whatever you get, and use Shakespeare's text in your own phrasing to respond. Here's my mandate to you in the audience, which is the same thing I ask of my AAC theater campers, so I think you can handle it. Be the audience you'd like to have, and don't be a jerk. To set the scene, Shylock, interrupted and insulted throughout the play, is justifying to his detractors why exactly he is so passionately pursuing the pound of flesh promised to him by Antonio. I will cue Miriam in, and we'll see what happens. Why, I am sure if you forfeit, thou wilt not take his flesh. What's that good for?
To bait fish withal. It will feed nothing else. It will feed my revenge. He hath disgraced me and hindered me 500,000, laughed at my losses, mocked at my gains, scorned my nation, thwarted my bargains, cooled my friends, hated my enemies, and what's his reason? I am a Jew. Have not a Jew eyes? Have not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, passions, affections, fed with the same food, hurt with the same weapons, subject to the same diseases, warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer as a Christian is?
Yes.
Yes.
If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? If we are like you in the rest, we will resemble you in that. If a Jew wrong a Christian, what is his humility? Revenge. If a Christian wrong a Jew, what should his sufferance be by Christian example?
Revenge.
Why revenge? The villainy you teach me, I will execute. And it shall go hard. But I will bear the instruction.